Alright, so the next topic that we're going to cover is circles on the coordinate plane. So in the circle shown, AB is the diameter. It tells us to find the coordinates of the center. Okay, so remember the formula for the center, that's going to mean that we're going to find the midpoint. So M is the midpoint, okay? We add our x values together. I'm writing down the formula just in case you don't remember. And then we add the y values together and we divide by 2, and that gives me the y coordinate, okay? So the midpoint for this one, if I go ahead and plug everything in, exactly the way I see it, we're going to take the x values and add them together. So my x values are -2 and 4. We have -2 plus 4. And then we're going to add the y values together. So 1 and 5, that's what we're going to do here. It'll be 1 plus 5. Okay, so for our midpoint, or the center of our circle, -2 plus 4 gives us 2 divided by 2 is 1. Here, 1 plus 5 is 6 divided by 2 is 3. So if I were to graph it, 1, 3 would be about right here. Okay, so that's the coordinate of the center. Now it says find the radius. So if the center is 1, 3, I'm going to put C for center, 1, 3. Then to find the radius, I need to find the distance from either here to B, the center to B, or the center to A. It doesn't matter which one you use. I'm just going to use the center to B. So 1, 3, and 4, 5. So I'm going to go ahead and write down the distance formula in case you don't remember. So it is going to be the square root of, we subtract our x values, x2 minus x1, and we square it, plus we subtract our y values, y2 minus y1, and we'll square it. So now we're ready to plug in. So starting with the second point, we have 5, oh wait, not 5, 4 minus 1, that's what I'm going to put here. So 4 minus 1, and then we square it, plus, then we subtract our y values. So we're going to start with the second point, we're going to do 5 minus 3. And then we square it. And then we can put all of this in our calculator exactly the way we see it, see what it gives us. 3 squared plus 2 squared, 3.6. So my radius is equal to 3.6. Alright, the next one here, it says the equation of the circle is center HK and the radius r, x minus h squared plus y minus k squared equals my radius squared. Okay, so hk is your center, h is my x value, so you subtract the x value, and then k is my y value, or it goes with the y value, and you subtract the y. And then whatever your radius is, you go ahead and square that, and that's your equation of your circle. So here's the first example. It says write the equation of circle E. So first, let's go ahead and find the point of the center. So the center here, our x value is 3, comma, my y value is -1. Okay, and then the radius from here to here is 1, 2, 3, 4. So r is equal to 4. So I'm going to go ahead and write the equation of our circle. It's going to be x minus 3 squared. So we take the x value and we subtract it, plus my y minus k. Okay, my k here is -1. So remember, when you subtract a -1, it ends up turning to a positive. So it'll be y plus 1 squared equals, and then we take the 4 and we square it. So 4 squared is 16. Okay, and that's the equation of our circle. Okay, moving on to the next one here, my x value is -1 for my center, and my y value is also -1. Okay, then we count our radius. Our radius is 1, 2, 3 units. So we're going to plug this into the formula. So we take our x value and we subtract our center of our circle. So we subtract -1. And when we do that, remember 2 negatives make a positive. Plus, we're going to take our y values. So we're going to subtract -1. And again, it's going to turn into a positive. 2 negatives make a positive. And then it's going to be equal to our radius squared. So 3 squared gives us 9. And that's the equation of our circle. So here, the next part says identify the coordinates of the center and the radius of the circle with the equation. So if I look here, remember we take our x. I'm going to go ahead and write it. X minus h squared plus y minus k squared equals our radius squared. So then if it's x minus h, that means my h, which is my center of my circle, is going to be 6, comma, and then this is a plus 7. So remember, it was a plus 7 because when you subtract a negative, two negatives make a positive. So that's the center of my circle. And then to find my radius, since my radius squared is equal to 17, we got to take the square root. So the radius is equal to the square root of 17. All right, the next one saying graph the equation x minus 2 plus 1. So first we need to find the center. So since it's minus 2, my x value is 2. And because it's plus 1, remember 2 negatives make it positive. That means it's going to be a negative 1. So if I graph that point 2, negative 1, it'll be right here. And then here, because this is 9, my radius squared equals 9. So to solve for r, take the square root. That means my radius is equal to 3. So I'm going to count 3 units away. 1, 2, and 3. In all directions, and then that's how we know where our circle kind of goes through. That's it. Okay, the next one, write the equation of circle T with center 4, 5 and radius 8. Okay, so remember we're going to do x minus, my x value is 4 squared plus, I'm going to go ahead and do y minus my y value there, which is 5 squared, equals my radius squared. So my radius is 8, so 8 squared is 64. Okay, the next one says write the equation of circle H with center 0, 0. Okay, so then we do x minus 0 squared plus y minus 0 squared. And this is equal to my radius squared. So if I square the square root of 13, the square root and the square root cancel, so we're just left with 13. Okay. Now this isn't completely simplified because x minus 0 is just x. So we have x squared plus y squared equals 13. Okay. So when you don't see any numbers in here with the x and the y, that means that your center is the origin. It's the center of our coordinate plane. So it doesn't have any numbers. All right, the next part says write the equation of circle B that passes through point 3, 5. Okay, so that means we're going to have x minus 3 squared plus y minus 5 squared. Oh, it passes through that point. My bad. The center is this one, negative 2. So instead of this being minus 3, it should be plus 2. And then this is a 1, so instead of being minus 5, it should be minus 1. Okay, it gave you a point that it passes through the circle, so let me just draw a picture real quick. Or you know what, let's go ahead and use this picture up here. Okay, I'm going to erase this. I'm going to use this graph so that I can graph it. So 3, 5 is what it passes through. So 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, passes through this point. And then the center is negative 2, 1. Okay, so that's the center of the circle. This is just a point on the outside, so it's probably this big circle, something like that. So the way that we're going to find the radius, that's what we need to find is a radius r. We're going to go ahead and count how many spaces it goes up. 1, 2, 3, 4. And to the right, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Right? 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, 5. So this is 4 and this is 5. This is a right triangle. So all we got to do to find the radius r here is using a squared plus b squared equals c squared. So 4 squared plus 5 squared equals c squared. 16 plus 25 gives me 41. So 41 equals c squared. So I take the square root, and that means that my radius is equal to the square root of 41. Okay, so for the equation, all we got to do is square it. So we do r squared equals the square root of 41 squared. And the square root and the squared cancel, and we're just left with 41. Okay, the next one says write the equation of the circle that has points negative 4, 3, and 2, 1 as the endpoints of the diameter. So I'm just going to draw a picture real quick. Negative 4, 3 would be about right here. 2, 1 would be about right here. These are the endpoints of the circle. Whoops. which means neither one is a center. So we're going to have to find the center. So I'm going to put C for center. We add the x values, negative 4 plus 2. We divide it by 2. We add the y values, 3 plus 1. And we divide that by 2. So the center of my circle, negative 4 plus 2 is, it's negative 4 plus 2. Negative 2 divided by 2 gives me negative 1. 3 plus 1 is 4, and 4 divided by 2 is 2. Okay, so that's the center of my circle, negative 1, 2. And then to find the distance from here to here, because we're going to need the radius as well, I'm going to go ahead and use the distance formula. So in the past one, I used the, you know what, yeah, let's just use Pythagorean theorem. I think that's probably the easiest. So this is negative 2, negative 4, 3, 1, 2, 3. That's that point. And then we said the center was negative 1, 2. Whoa. Negative 4, 3, negative 1, 2. So then my triangle here, to find the radius, this is 1, 2, and 3. And it rises 1. So we're going to do 3 squared plus 1 squared equals c squared. This gives me 10 equals c squared. We take the square root, so the square root of 10 is going to equal my radius. So when we're writing it here, my center, what did we say the radius was? The square root of 10. So now that I have my center, I'm going to go ahead and subtract my x value. So I subtract a negative 1, and that turns into a positive, plus I subtract my y value, so y minus 2, and that's squared, equals, and then I go ahead and take the radius and I square it. So the square root of 10 is just going to give me 10.